You're live.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the Finance and Claims Committee meeting of the Common Council for tonight, Thursday, March 14th, 2024 at 7:00 p.m. We'll begin the meeting with the roll call of the Finance Committee members. Councilmember Melissa Murray,
Here.
Councilmember Doug Sutton,
Present.
Councilmember Johan Lopez,
Present.
Councilmember Heather Dunn,
Here.
Councilmember Dewan Wiggins,
Here.
and Councilmember Greg Burnett is present, so we have a quorum. Thank you. We'll move on to item 3 of the agenda, which is public participation. We did not receive any emails prior to the meeting in relation to tonight's meeting. If anyone has joined the call and wishes to speak, they can raise their hand electronically, and we will allow you 3 minutes to address any item that's on the agenda. James, do we have anyone who has raised their hand to speak?
There is none at this time.
Okay, I'll do one more shout out. If anyone wishes to speak, raise their hand. Okay, with that, I will close public participation and we'll move on to item 4 of the agenda, which is we have 3 sets of meetings to approve, starting with the January 11th, 2024 Special Finance and Claims Committee meeting. Do we have a motion to approve these minutes? Councilmember Heather Dunn, thank you. Do we have any additions, deletions, or changes to these minutes? I did see a couple of updates. They were spelling corrections. One was the spelling of Dewan Wiggins' name. It was spelled D-U and not D-A. And also the correct spelling for Robert Pennington. His first name needs to be spelled correctly. Those were the only updates. Were there any others? Okay, seeing and hearing none, call the question. All of those in favor of approving the January 11th, 2024 minutes as amended, show by a raise of hand. Okay, great. It's unanimous. Those minutes are approved. Moving on to the February 15th, 2024 Special Finance and Claims Committee meeting. Do we have a motion on these minutes? Councilmember Johan Lopez, any additions, deletions, or changes? And I do have a few that that will identify. Starting on page 15, the paragraph which states, Mr. Lopez asked about potential consequences in transferring permits. That term permits should be payments. In that same paragraph, it goes on to say the revaluation in 2018, and many taxpayers, it should say, took their case to the Supreme Court, not to. Further down in the paragraph where it says, Mr. Burnett said the numbers were headed in the right, the word should be direction and not director. And then finally, under the tax assessor section, it states the sentence where it says, he said they provided finance for some grants. That should be the grand list numbers. Grand is the correct word. Trying to see if there's any other corrections. Yes, there are more. And these are just minor typos. In the paragraph that starts the next slide. No, I think that's the next set of minutes. February 22nd, yes. All right, those were the only corrections that I identified. Were there any others? Okay, hearing, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving the minutes as corrected?
I'm
Rich,
gonna abstain. I didn't get to finish reading. I'm sorry, I was a little late, so I'm just gonna abstain.
no problem. And Councilmember DeJuan Wiggins is a yes, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yeses and 1 abstention, Melissa Murray. Thank you. And then finally, the set of minutes from the February 22nd Special Finance and Claims Committee meeting, and we should probably go through the corrections first before we have a motion and vote. So did have a couple of corrections. Starting off with on the first page of the set of minutes, correct spelling of my name is Burnett, not Barnett, Burnett. That appears twice on the first page. And then on the second page, if we go to 1, 2, 3, 4, the 6th paragraph where it starts, the next slide presented was for the revaluation. They show should be the correct word and not should. Then the next paragraph where the sentence starts, the mill rate came down as opposed to done. In the next paragraph where it states the mills of 32.46, which is the word should be statute, STATUTE. And then the next paragraph where it begins, they were happy with, it should indicate $8 million drawdown and not just the number 8. And it won't affect, replacing the word here, the AAA rate. And then finally, the 2 sentences down where it states, it appears commercial is not paying its share, ITS share. Those were the corrections that were identified. Any other corrections to the minutes from February 22nd? Councilmember Johan Lopez, yes.
Thank you, Chair. On the second page, second paragraph, it says Mr. Lopez asked how the departments dealt with the budget and scrubbed as much as they can. The correction is Mr. Lopez asked how the departments dealt with budgetary priorities and scrubbed as much as they can.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Any other corrections or changes? Okay, do we have a motion to accept the February 22nd minutes as corrected? I think I saw Councilmember Heather Dunn, your hand go up. Thank you. With that, I'll call for the question. All those in favor, show by a raise of hand. And it is unanimous. Great. Thank you. Appreciate that. Moving on to items 5, 6, and 7, which item 5 is the Claims Committee report for March 2024. Item 6 is the narrative on the tax collector collections as of March 2024. And then finally, the monthly tax collectors report dated February 2024. And I'll turn it over to Lisa B., our tax collector, for those 3 items.
Thank you. Good evening, folks. We'll start with the claims, which I think on your packet is your page 27. I want to draw your attention there to 3 items that are special requests due to the dollar amount of the refund. One is for 14,000, the other is 17,000, and the third is for 27,000. The first 2 are as a result of some of the assessment errors that we had over the summer, with the billing and the assessments of the motor vehicles that were incorrect. So these were accounts, a number of accounts that were overpaid by either leased vehicle fleet or a rider truck fleet. The third item on this is for a stipulated judgment in an assessment appeal that was settled. This is an older bill. It's for the 2020 real estate grand list, as opposed to the 2022 grand list, which we're currently collecting. So it's an older bill that was overpaid. And we have to honor the stipulated judgment that the Corporation Counsel's Office and the plaintiff's attorney agreed to in court. So those are the 3 special requests. And this time, in addition to being for informational purposes, we do need a vote on it. And it has to go to the full council as well before we're able to proceed.
Thank you, Lisa. You've heard the report of the Claims Committee. There's 3 items over the $10,000 threshold. Do we have a motion to approve the Claims Committee report? Councilmember Doug Sutton, thank you very much. Are there any questions related to this claims report? Okay, hearing and seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor, show by a sign of raise of hand. And it is unanimous. Thank you. This item will move to the next Common Council meeting for final review and approval on Tuesday, March 26th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Proceeding forward to the narrative and the end of month report for February, which in your packet, I believe are pages 38, 39, 40. We are now able to more accurately assess where we stand in terms of the current collection period, because we're looking at collections through the end of the month of February. And we did mention last month, we took in a lot of payments the first week of February that were timely posted and timely made. So the good news is we are at 96.94% of our current adjusted levy through the end of February 2024, which is very slightly ahead of where we were last year. So that's good news. We're also ahead slightly with the sewer use collection, which is another 18 million. We are now proceeding with delinquent enforcement measures, which is what we normally do at this time of year. So at the end of February, we did issue past due notices for our real estate, sewer use, and business personal property accounts, and the motor vehicle delinquent notices are going out this week. The term that is used for these notices is called a demand notice. And I just bring that to your attention because sometimes it is concerning to your constituents when they get a demand in the mail. It's a statutory term. It's not meant to imply rudeness, but it is a requirement before we can take any further enforcement action. So we're basically saving a step, not sending another mailing after the delinquent notice. Our delinquent notice takes the form of a demand for payment. And we do explain that on the notice as well. So they should not be concerned about that language. But we hope to file our lien continuing certificates at the end of March. Normally, we file them by the 15th of March. We're a little bit later this year, but by the end of the month, we do expect to do that. I think that we're probably on track in terms of quantity. We did a trial run a couple weeks ago, and there's not a huge quantity more than last year. So we'll see how that goes. We usually file between 800 and 900 lien continuing certificates out of 29,000 parcels. We are working forward on the tax sale. We have collected through the end of February $1.1 million so far on properties that were scheduled for inclusion. which went up to 171 properties because we identified more after the end of the current collection period. So we are continuing to work on that, but we did change the date of the sale. So it was originally scheduled for July. We moved it ahead to September. It's the week after Labor Day. So it's now Monday, September 9th. That will actually give our taxpayers a little bit more time to address the issue. And I did also want to point out, it's in the narrative, but typically about 90 to 95% of the properties that are scheduled for sale will pay off prior to the sale. And I'll be at your meetings every month to continue to update you on where we stand with that. And that's really all I have for you. We've been dealing with the Board of Estimate, trying to assist them in estimating our revenues for the end of this year, estimating our revenues for next year, and the administration and the Board of Estimate both are relying on the tax sale to bring in a significant amount of revenue, back tax revenue, tax and interest in the upcoming fiscal year in order to allow them to try to set a lower mill rate, mitigate the effects of the revaluation that we have all been dealing with, and so forth. But I'm glad to answer any questions or address any concerns that you have.
Any questions for the tax collector? Councilmember Johan Lopez.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you so much, Lisa. Just a quick question on the 97.96% of the sewer collection. Is there anything we can do on our end to kind of be able to raise that going into next year? Or
Actually, it's a good question. We lean for sewer use. The way that we bill sewer use in Norwalk is a little bit unique. Most other municipalities bill it as a separate item. We bill it as part of our real estate bill, which enables those taxpayers whose real estate taxes are paid by an escrow agent to pay it, which actually increases our collection. We also file what is basically a real estate lien in order to collect the sewer use, because if we didn't do that, the separate lien would be something like, $390 or whatever our annual sewer charge is. It shows up as a real estate lien the way we do it in Norwalk. It's more convenient for the taxpayer. It's more convenient for the town clerk. He's getting roughly half the number of liens that he would otherwise be getting. And it does increase that collection percentage. That should go up because we did send the delinquent notices out at the end of February. So we're hoping to get some more in on that. But the sewer is usually a little bit less than the real estate. Just because it is a little harder to collect. It's a utility and it's a little bit peculiar, but other than that, that's really all we can do. It is also tax saleable. So we do have some accounts that are in our tax sale that owe very significant sewer use bills, typically the ones that are based on flow, which is billed on their actual prior usage for some of the commercial accounts that put a significant amount of effluent into the sanitary sewer system. And there's accounts with a sewer bill of $40,000 a year. If those don't get paid, they get put in the tax sale, just like a real estate bill.
Gotcha. Thank you so much for the clarification, Lisa.
You're welcome.
One question that I have, Lisa, as it relates to this year's tax collection rate, even though the fiscal year ends at the end of June of this year, and we're allowed to include taxes that are collected, and I see you shaking your head, you know where I'm going, for July and August. Now that we're moving the tax sale to September, are we allowed, or I guess we cannot include the tax sale revenue as part of the 2023-2024 tax collection numbers? Is that correct? Does that September tax sale now roll into the 2024-2025 fiscal year numbers?
Well, here's the thing. That's a really good question. And I'll start by clarifying. Government accounting is run, and I'm not an accountant, but it's called modified accrual accounting. And what we do is it's a little bit peculiar in that we recognize our receipts for the immediately prior period, which technically ends on June 30th. But if we get payments in July and August, the 62 days after the end of the fiscal year, on our immediately prior grand list, which is the 2022 grand list, those collections are rolled into our collection rate that our auditors look at and report for us. So that 96.94 that you see as of the end of February, it'll go up in June. By June, it'll go up a little bit more. And we will also add to it whatever receipts on the 22 grand list that we receive in July and August. So that's to clarify what Chairman Burnett just mentioned. The actual fact is we're going to be collecting tax sale revenues from now through September, and most of those properties are going to pay prior to the sale in September. So even though the sale is September 9th, I'm guessing most of the money usually comes in before that because those 90 to 95% of the properties pay off to avoid the sale. The sale is almost like a denouement. You know, it's the real work happens before it to get all that other revenue in. So some will be coming in, probably the lion's share of it will be coming in July and in August, and September will be kind of an afterthought. There won't be much left by then. So some of it will definitely go into those 62 days, not all of it, but some of it.
Great, thank you for clearing that up and bringing that to our attention. So I know a lot of effort goes into the tax sale, but the majority of the work, as you state, is really before the tax sale.
It is.
And what's ever left at the tax sale, which we hope is minimal,
Yes.
that'll be September, that will roll into the 2024, 2025 fiscal year.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, very good, great. Any other questions for our tax collector? Okay, great. Once again, moving towards that 99.0+% tax collection rate. And any reason why you foresee that we may not hit that number?
I don't think we're going to hit it this year. I really don't. 99 is
Oh.
tough. I know.
Oh,
I know. We'll see. We'll see after the motor vehicle delinquent notices go out. You know, and you're also going to hear conversations about eliminating the motor vehicle tax, but I'm sure you realize if you look at these monthly reports, you see we collect 30 million in regular motor vehicle and another 4.2 to 4.5 million in supplemental motor vehicle. That money needs to come in from somewhere. So when they talk about eliminating that tax, unless they tell us where we're going to get that revenue, it needs to be really thought out because nobody likes to pay the motor vehicle tax. But that's in excess of $35 million that we use to help offset the real estate levy and the mill rates on the real estate accounts. So I'm trying. I'll keep trying.
I know you will. Thank you.
I will.
Thank you so much. We appreciate
welcome.
your efforts.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Great. Moving on to item 8 on the agenda, which is the tax assessors report. Unfortunately, Paul could not join us, but he did send a written report, which was distributed to everyone, which will be included in the minutes. The report indicates that the revaluation is complete and the grand list was signed on February 29th. The Elderly and Disabled Homeowners Program application period began on February 1st and continues until May 15th at 4:30 p.m. That's the deadline to submit the application. There's been a variety of mailings and social media blitzes to get the word out across the community. This activity will be ongoing until and beyond the application period end date. We are currently The assessor's office is currently engrossed in the Board of Estimate Appeals application period. Applications opened on March 1st and run until 4:30 on March 20th. The hearings will be held during the month of April, and the Board of Assessment Appeals has a new assessment limit to work with this year on commercial properties. The board will now be able to hear appeals for commercial properties with an assessment up to $1.4 million. The previous limit was $1 million. That's the current update from the tax assessor's office. And I will just add that if we can continue to promote the elderly and senior homeowners program and get as many individuals who might qualify to complete the application, that would be very helpful. Any questions about the tax assessor's report? Councilmember Johan Lopez.
Thank you, Chair. I just have two quick questions. With the mailing letters, does every individual who qualifies get a letter, or do they take a sample? Or
Lisa, maybe you can help answer that question?
Yeah, hi, I'm still here, so I'll do my best with that. The assessor's office is responsible for administering what we call the state program, which is actually now funded by Norwalk as well, and the local program. They mail every 2 years, a person needs to reapply. So they have a database that they send to, and they also follow up with phone calls. And if they have email, they follow up with emails. They're very diligent about getting those applications out. And the people who are on the program are also likewise very diligent about making sure that they send their applications in. The issue has been in the past identifying people who might not think they qualify for the program, but maybe they do. So the assessors encourage everybody who thinks they might or has any idea that they might be interested to call or apply, or at least look at what the income limits are, and see if maybe they do, or if worse comes to worse, pick up the phone and talk with somebody. We also made a pamphlet that my office sent out with the December real estate and sewer use billing, and it's online. It's on our website, and I think it's on the assessor's website as well. And it's called something like Questions and Answers about Tax Relief Programs for Elderly and Disabled Residents. And that has the current income limits in it, and it explains the program. There's a couple different programs. You know, some might be more appealing to one type of taxpayer as another. There's a deferral program and a credit program. The credit program is the very popular one because it doesn't have to be paid back. And we currently have about 1,300 households on that program. And the credits can range anywhere from $900 to like $1,500 off the taxes. It is income based, and they do have to be a Norwalk resident in order to qualify for it. But they're very, very good about getting those mailings out.
thank you so much, Lisa. And just a quick follow-up with respect to the change in limits for commercial properties. Was it the reevaluation that triggered a legal change in the amount for the appeals? Is that typically something that usually happens every time there's a reevaluation?
I don't know. That I can't answer. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. So no worries. Thank you.
We'll take that as a follow-up question.
Perfect. Perfect. That's yep. Thank you.
And have the Paul Gorman get back to you directly with a response.
Thank you, Chair.
Great. Okay. Moving on to, if there's no other questions related to the tax assessors report, moving on to item 9 on the agenda, which is to receive the Oak Hills Authority monthly financial statements for December 2023 and January 2024, and also the audit report for year end June 30th, 2023. And we have Denise Brown from the Oak Hills Park Authority to provide that information and address any questions.
Yes, hello, good evening, everybody. The financial reports that I have here for December and January, it's a quiet time for us for those couple of months. So there's not a lot of activity, obviously, for our course because, most of it has been shut down. The golf revenue, though, and the cart rounds, they're performing well. They're above the revenue rounds is above the budget for the first 7 months. Our ID cards, they're a little lower than what we had budgeted, but that's because of the winter months. People aren't really thinking about buying the ID cards. So I think once the weather, which is now starting to change for March and April, that will pick up and we'll probably be on target for that. And so the golf carts, they've been in our 3rd year for our 5-year lease, and there's a little bit of wear that's expected, but our Golf Pro Paul, he's very pleased with the way that they're running. They've been put away since the first week of January, so any activity that we do have on the court is only for people who are walking. Our pro shop is down to just one person managing the pro shop right now. They're there from like 10 in the morning till 3, so it's a very quiet activity time for the January and December months, of course. But let me see, I'm sorry. The year to date, the operating income, we are $64,000 what we had budgeted for this month. And that's because our revenue was up by 80,000. Our expenses, though, were also up by about 16,000, but that left us for, a net of 64,000. So we're still in the plus, which is always very good, especially going into the quiet months for us, but we're doing well. We're not, having anything large that we have to worry about right now. And we have paid down our city debt to date, $74,000. And for the fiscal year, from last January to this January, we have paid down the city debt $104,000. So, we're on target, we're meeting our payments, which we're extremely happy about, of course. And, the activity is slow, but that's kind of what's going on for the moment. If anybody has any questions about the financials.
Any questions related to the December and January financial report? Okay, hearing and seeing none. Everything seems to be in the right direction, which is good.
Mhm.
So if we can now move to the audit report.
So the audit report, we had a little bit of a problem getting our audit report in on time. We just finally got it completed in January. We're not quite sure why this activity took so long. I know that Mark had been working with the auditors, so this is something we're going to look into as far as if we may look into other auditors. But, we've been using them for a couple of years. There hasn't been any problem, but there seemed to have been just kind of a little less communication with them. And so that was just one of the little things that we have to kind of take a look at for the future. But, the assets for the authority, they exceeded its liabilities, and it was deferred inflows of the resources. And so for the close of the fiscal year, we were up by $36,000. Our authority's net position increased by 343,000, and that's due to the revenue generated by the golf course, which is something that is very positive for us after having so many years of difficulty there. And basically, the report is, there's nothing really terribly different about it. We're glad that our revenue and our assets are above our liabilities, of course. And, so for the fiscal year of last year, we paid to, I guess, from June to, from June to the end of, or July to the end of June for our fiscal year last year, we paid $74,000 to our city debt. But, we're slowly keeping up with our debt, our commercial debt. So we're doing pretty well, holding up. But basically, the audit report didn't show anything particular that were concerned about. Mark is very diligent about him keeping the books. He's been doing a great job. And so we're very happy with his position and how he controls everything for Oak Hills.
Great. I did have one question. I did see where they indicated that 395,000 was basically uninsured. Any plans or actions to address that, or do you not see
Oh.
that as a
Well,
concern?
at that time, that money that was uninsured is now been invested. So that was money that was just sitting in our operating account, but we have moved that into two other banks for, like, one was in a CD and the other one is in a money market. So they're in separate banks now, so the money is insured. But
Good.
it was uninsured sitting in our operating account at Oak Hills at that point. So that's been taken care of. So we have, some simple investments going locally with other banks.
Good. Thank you for that update.
Okay.
And in reading through the management level letter, I should say, it didn't appear that they mentioned any significant findings. So is that, can you confirm that?
Yes, there were no significant findings. So, there's nothing that they found that was of any concern. They're willing to, give us a whole another year, I guess, of good rating, and that we will be continuing with Oak Hills and operating business. So everything seemed to be fine.
Great.
Okay.
Great. Any other questions related to the audit report? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Denise, for providing us with that update, and
Greg, I just wanted to
yes,
introduce everybody to our general manager who's going to be speaking tonight. Jim Holliday, he's our new general manager for Oak Hills, and we're very happy to have him on board. So I'll turn it over to you, back to you, Greg.
great. Thank you, Denise, and thank you again for the update and the audit report update. Let's keep moving things in a positive direction.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 10 on the agenda, which reads as follows. Approve proposed 5-year lease agreement with Odines OHGC LLC for restaurant services as Oak Hills Park. Do we have a motion on this item? Councilmember Melissa Murray, thank you. We'll move into discussion now and turn it over to Jim Holliday to give us the update on the lease agreement.
Thank you, Chairman. Odines was the restaurateur selected or recommended by the selection committee of 7 individuals, and they were selected based primarily on the fact that they've been operating successfully at the Ridgefield Golf Course for 7 years. They're entering their 8th year when they open in April. In addition to that, they were looked favorably by the fact that they operate food and beverage concessions at Spins Bowling Alley in Carmel, New York. And they have a catering business. They are the exclusive caterer for Kirby Hill Farm in Pawling, New York. Insofar as the financials, the financial terms of the license agreement will begin on expire on March 31st, 2029. And they will be paying the authority 3% of gross revenues in year 1, 4% in year 2, and 5% years 3 through 5. In addition to that, they will pay a fixed monthly fee of $1,000 in year 1 and $2,000 in years 3 through 5. I'll remind you that's a monthly fee. portions of the utilities divided in this way. They will pay 70% of the gas and electric meter charges for the clubhouse and 100% of the electric meter costs for the halfway house and 33% of the telephone expense for each facility. There is a cancellation clause that allows either party to cancel with 90 days written notice without cause or 60 days notice with cause. In addition to this, the agreement has been reviewed and approved by the city's legal department. I think that's the key elements of the license agreement, and I'm happy to answer any questions anyone might have.
Thank you, Jim, for that narrative. My question would be why 1,000 in the first year and then 2,000? Why not 2,000? Is that to provide some kind of transition?
That would be a good way of looking at it, yes. As you may be aware, the history of the concessionaires in the recent past is poor. And they have, I can only reflect on the most recent concessionaire, but the cash flow, revenues were always very, he always claimed that he was unable to meet his rent payments. So we were very pleased that this concessionaire proposed a percentage of gross revenues. However, members of the authority did want to have some fixed income. And so it was determined that to do everything in the authority's powers to help them succeed, that the fixed payment remain low in the first year and then increase in years 2 through 5.
Great, thank you. And one follow-up question. The contract, the lease agreement with the new vendor, are there any major changes to the contract that we had with the previous vendor? Or is it pretty much the same other than the financial numbers?
It's pretty much the same. The only change that I can think of off the top of my head pertains to special events that may be held. It is stipulated that they must be held, that they will not interfere with our principal business, which is the business of golf, and that they are also curtailed at a certain hour in the evening so as not to disturb our many neighbors. That was not included in the previous agreement.
Great, thank you. Any other questions related to the agreement? Okay, doesn't appear to be any. I'm sure everyone is excited about having a vendor and a vendor with experience working at a golf course coming into Norwalk. It's much more appreciated to have a vendor there than have the space empty. So hopefully golfers and others will patronize the location, and we look forward to getting an update as the year goes on with how successful they are. And what's the date that they will actually be? Oh, let's say I know they'll be on premise preparing and getting the equipment up to speed, but when do they actually open?
Well, we are still using a target date of April 1st. It is our impression at this point that we will have the halfway house operating and they will be able to serve breakfast. We are hoping for April 1st, but I would say the restaurant will probably open full service by perhaps the middle of the month of April. Pretty quick turnaround.
Great. Well, we look forward for that announcement.
And we look forward to seeing you.
Great. Okay, if there's no other questions, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving the license agreement for Oak Hills, show by a raise of hand. It is unanimous. Thank you. So we will move this item to the full common council for final review and approval on Tuesday, at the Tuesday, March 26th, council meeting.
Thank
Okay,
you.
great. Moving on to item 11, which on the agenda, which reads as follows: requesting a reduction in the amount of $657,000 from the police communication console account, account number noted, for fiscal year 2023-2024 to purchase 6 vehicles for the police department. And yeah, so well, 11 and 12 are related, but let's cover them separately. So item 11 I just read. Do we have a motion on this item?
Reduce.
Councilmember Johan Lopez, I saw your hand. Thank you. So this particular item is to utilize funds that were initially allocated for the police communication console project. And there are funds remaining in that project, and the request is to reallocate $657,000 to another account in order to purchase 6 vehicles. And we have with us Deputy Chief. Oh, Melissa, yes, Deputy Chief. There you go. I saw Evans. I was like, who's Melissa Evans?
Yes, good evening, everybody. Yes, it's under my maiden name.
Got it. Thank you. We have our Deputy Chief with us to as well as the finance. Mickey, I don't know your official title, but you're our finance guy with the police department, Mickey Dosimo, to provide narrative on item 11 and this transfer.
I can begin,
So-
everybody. Oh,
Yeah,
go ahead. Okay, so what we would like to do is obviously move some money out of our one project, which was our console, our communication console project, and put it into our police cars and vans replacement account. This will allow us to purchase 6 regular patrol vehicles for the year and 2 electric vehicles for the department. Right now, we have been we were delayed in purchasing cars due to COVID and the availability in manufacturing back in 20 and 21. So this will allow us to come up to speed and be back where we are just for routine replacement for year after year for the cars if we're allowed to purchase these.
Just one point of clarification. You said 6 vehicles and 2 electric. That's a total of 8, or is
Yes.
it? Or, but this
Yes.
is asking for 6. So is it? I think the backup
The,
indicated 4 and 2. Or is that not?
I have 6 and 2.
That's a total of 8 vehicles.
Yes, 6 regular and 2 electric vehicles.
So the request, item 11 states to purchase 6 vehicles.
I believe, Mr.
Yes.
Burnett, there was money existing in the account, and this is for 6 additional vehicles. And this
Okay.
is, these are the patrol vehicles. We are purchasing 2 electric vehicles for the SROs. They'll be stationed at the schools, high visibility. This is for an additional 6 cars in addition to that and whatever we may have in for our next year's capital request.
So what's before us is the request for 6 vehicles, which will be 6 patrol vehicles.
Correct, yes.
Got it. Thank you. Okay, great. Any questions? Council Member Johan Lopez, yes.
Thank you, Chair. Deputy, quick question, like how often do the vehicles normally get replaced? Is it every year? Is it every couple of years? And how do you guys make that determination? Is it just do like an overall assessment of the condition of the vehicle and decide from there, or yeah, what's the process like?
Yeah, no problem. Well, it depends on the wear and tear of the vehicle. We get about 120,000 miles out of the car. So, and those are hard miles. Those aren't like highway miles. Those are around town and those are driven 24/7. As long as they are being maintained, which the city garage maintains them phenomenally, we try and get that much out of them unless there's an accident or something else. But yeah, so we get them about 100 and 120,000 miles.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Dewan Wiggins.
Thank you, Greg. It's kind of, Johan kind of asked my question, but I was thinking about, so we taking it's basically, what was this allocated for?
6
Before-
new patrol cars.
No, before, because, so number 11, it was to take it out of a different account.
Yes, that was our communications console upgrade account.
Okay, and so it's no more, you guys don't need the funds for that anymore? That's basically what you was saying? Or was
Correct.
money left over?
Yes, so the project is almost completed and we would like to reallocate the money, yes, from the communication console account to the vehicle account.
Okay, to replace eight new vehicles?
Well,
6.
the request they will be purchasing 8, but the request that's in front of us, the finance committee, is for 6 vehicles, which would be 6 patrol vehicles.
And that money would total out to 657,000?
Yes.
And to Johan's question, so these are, because I see a lot of trucks and new vehicles around now, and just basically you just add into the fleet and basically selling off the other vehicles, or like
No.
auctioning off the other vehicles typically. How
So
do-
yes, we do auction off of the other vehicles. So we just decommissioned our last Crown Vics. So we still had Crown Vics on the road that were like 2005, 6. So that we've gotten a lot of years out of them. And then we had some Ford Explorers. And those are actually, what we do is when they're decommissioned, as long as they're still good, we'll use them for construction cars or, admins, or they'll give them down to other different divisions, but they won't be used as our primary patrol vehicles for first line responders. So we do utilize them after they decommission from the frontline patrol, so we can get some more years out of them. And then once they're done, then they go to auction.
Okay, and then does the auction money comes back to this fund and you guys,
No, it goes back to the city.
oh, the auction funds go back to the city?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Just to add to that, I mean, I would say maybe about 7, 8 years ago, there was a time period when, due to budget constraints, that we were not approving new vehicles
Right.
for the police department.
And
then-
years.
And then we were able to get on what I'll call a regular rotation of replenishing the patrol vehicles, maybe 10 each year, so that there would be a rolling rotation of new cars. As the older cars got older, they would come off the road and then new cars will come on the road. So we have a much better financial handle on what our projections are in terms of what is needed to ensure we have operating and safe vehicles for our officers at all times on the road by having a rotating change of purchasing new vehicles, taking old vehicles off the road and keeping that flow happening. And this is due to some changes in the police communication console account. If you have a chance to look at the backup, that particular project, there was several millions of dollars allocated for that project. Due to some changes in the project management and delivery of that project, there's close to maybe $5 million that will be in capital dollars that will be returned back to the city. And a portion of that is what's being used here for the new vehicles.
Yes.
Councilmember Dewan Wiggins, your hand's up for a question.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. So the 657,000 was for the communication council. And what was the original? Do you know? You probably don't have this answer. But do you know the original budget for that project?
Yes, it was
And-
$13 million.
And they didn't use all the money, so it was left over with 657.
No.
It was
That's
more,
it.
but you said that's what they was allocating. That's basically what you were just saying.
Right, exactly.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
There's about 5.4 million left over. This is 657 of it. The rest will be returned to the city. Some will be reduced next year's capital request by the police department. So it's kind of been a win for all. We've already helped the fire department to the tune of about 800,000. So the money has been allocated to different city resources to reduce our capital requests. This is a portion of it for this year that is going to help us tremendously. Mr. Burnett explained it probably a lot better than I could have on the history of the problems we've had on vehicles with COVID, supply chain, maintenance. So this would be a good thing for the police department.
How many in total vehicles do you guys think you guys need? Like I know you, Greg, you said it was kind of like a roll-off thing, but how many new compared to like what's, if you got the numbers, like what's next on the old vehicles?
So what this will allow us to do is next year in our next fiscal budget, we have requested for 10 new cars and we'll roll out another 10 cars. We have 75 primary patrol cars on our primary line. So we just got new Tahoes last year. We got I think 2 sets of them. We have another set that are rolling out in April, and that has allowed us to get rid of some of our really, really old cars.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any additional questions as it relates to utilizing these funds from the Police Communication Council account? Yes, Councilmember Heather Dunn.
I have a quick question. So once we approve this, or if we approve this, how long, there's like a fit out time period, right? So when they actually arrive and are able for us to be used in the city?
This will probably take about 4 to 6 months for us to get these cars. Between ordering them and getting them upfitted, because the upfit, you have to remember, they have to do lights, sirens, they have to refit for the computers and the consoles and the modules, dashboard cameras, they have the prisoner compartment. So there's a lot of work in the decaling, so there's a lot of work that goes into them.
Pretty quick. I know the fire department was asking for a fire truck that was 3 years to get to us. Yeah.
Well, as long as they're in stock too. So we have actually been, we are purchasing them from a dealership that's in Massachusetts that actually has great turnaround time for us and a great price. So we are probably able to get them 6 months, and then, you know, somewhere around that time frame, we can get them out on the street.
And one last thing, I know that we had just, I think we approved the charging stations, one of them. What's the time frame? Or they're supposed to come in prior to getting the vehicles, or
Yes, so the charging stations, the chief has, we already have that in the works. And we have the location and we're just waiting for like installation for the charging station. So we have 2 charging stations that are gonna be in for the 2 cars.
So you'll have them before the cars arrive.
Yes, yeah, the cars aren't even ordered. We don't even know. We had to make sure we got all the funding and everything before we can even, place the order for those.
Thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Yes, Councilmember Johan Lopez.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, David. Quick question, like the older cars that take a beating, how does the repair work? Is that something that's done locally? Is it just one single shop, or is it the police department have like its own shop? All those cars that really take a beating, how does that whole entire process usually work?
So our old cars, our old Fords that are no longer under warranty, the city of Norwalk, their garage, the maintenance garage over at DPW, they do all our maintenance. We have mechanics over there. If there's any warranty work, it would go to the dealership. And that's
I
why,
see.
so we changed over from Ford to Chevys because the Ford dealerships and everything, they had no turnaround time, they have no parts, they have no inventory. So the Chevys we got a better price for them, we got better maintenance packages for them, and their turnaround time is spectacular, and we've had no problems with them. So,
Oh,
yeah, so
okay.
some of the work does go to the Ford dealership, some of it would go to RG or our garage here at DPW. And then we also have like a body shop in town that's dedicated, and we have an agreement with that we use them for like our towing services sometimes if the DPW can't do that for us. And then they also do a lot of our body work there too.
Got it. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing, seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of this request of a reduction, show by a raise of hand. It is unanimous. Thank you. Great. This item will move to the full council on Tuesday, March 26th for final council review and approval. And moving on to item 12, and just for formality, it reads as follows: requesting an increase in the amount of $657,000 in the police car and van replacement account number as noted, to purchase 6 new vehicles. So we have a motion on this item. Councilmember Dewan Wiggins, thank you. We've already had the discussion. I think it's pretty straightforward. We approved where the money is coming from, and this is approving where the money is going to go. So with that, I'll call for the question. All those in favor, show by a raise of hands. And is unanimous. Thank you. This item will also move to the full council on Tuesday, March 26th for final review and approval. Thank you. Deputy Chief and Mickey, thank you for your time and your explanations. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
With that, item 13 is motion to adjourn. Don't everyone put their hand up so quick.
Heather, I beat you, Heather.
Councilmember Heather Dunn, thank you. I'll call the question. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you very much for your time and efforts, and have a great rest of your evening.
Okay.
Okay, good night.
Good night.